creating the link.
Okay, I'm on.
Oh,
Thank you. Can I start now?
Yes, you can start.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good morning and good evening, everybody, and namaste. This is Dr. Sarat Addanki from Dublin, California. Today, my topic on Nidok Street would be on stress and how do we tackle stress. So before I get into stress, I would like to maybe dwell a couple of minutes on a subject on immunity. I want to spend a couple of minutes on immunity. So in the current situation, Sri Prime Minister Modi ji and everybody is talking about immunity and the importance of immunity and how immunity plays an important role to protect us from virus and various other attacks, pandemic attacks. Now, what are the factors which affects immunity? For instance, the number one factor which can affect immunity is stress, age, our diet, lifestyle, some chronic illnesses, as well as any genetical disorders. Now, today's focus, as I said, since it's on stress, how does stress affect our immunity? And let me try to define stress first. I would define stress from a couple of angles. One is stress from Ayurvedic perspective and stress from mind-body aspect. So let's talk about how do we define stress from mind-body. When we look at our whole system, the mind-body system, we have limbic system, which pretty much controls our emotional as well as hypothalamus, emotional, fear, and all those elements in our brain, plus the hypothalamus. Now, hypothalamus in turn controls two key elements, one or two key organs or elements. One is it controls pituitary glands. It also controls our immune system. When we are under stress, our body, there are a couple of ways it would, for example, it would emit cortisol, which is also an immunosuppressant. So when we are under chronic stress, limbic system, which in turn controls our hypothalamus, which because of these certain elements, it suppresses our immunity. So one hand, it is suppressing our immunity. On the other hand, it is also controlling pituitary glands, which in turn controls pretty much all our endocrine system. So there is a possibility of creating abnormal hormones. So this is the mind-body connect. How when a person is under chronic stress, the chances of immunity getting suppressed, and also our body might create abnormal hormones. Now, when we are locked up in a room or inside our house, the chances of chronic stress or we bringing out our old anger, that is also called resentment, is very, very high. So that is how, unless we manage this stress, the chances of our immunity getting suppressed are very high. So let me now,
Hello? Hello?
yeah,
Sir, have you started?
yes, people are watching.
But we are not able to see you live. Okay, please continue. But we are not able to see you. That's why. Okay.
It's, I'm sorry, some technical issue. Again, as I said, when so that is how the chances of our immunity getting suppressed are very high. Now let me talk about on the Ayurvedic perspective. How do we define stress from an Ayurvedic perspective? In Ayurveda, there are three main, I would say humus. One is Vata, Pitta, Kapha. I don't want to get into too details, but each of these doshas basically controls a lot of our systems. Now, when we take each of these doshas also have subdoshas which controls various aspects of our body. So the most two important subdoshas which we need to pay attention today when it comes to stress. One is pranavayu, that is a subdosha of vata. The second one is sadhaka pitta, that's a subdosha of pitta. Now we need fire in our system. We need fire in our eyes, we need fire in our brain, we need fire on our skin, we need fire in our stomach, we need fire in our intestines or liver and spleen to really transform what we are eating, and also the fire in the brain which is called sadhaka pitta, which helps us to judge things, which is the wisdom, the fire of wisdom. Now, in the current pandemic situation, the fire of wisdom plays an important role. For instance, we can sit inside our house and think about all the bad things which are happening, or we can judge, we can figure out how can we enhance our skills. For instance, yesterday I did a course on integrative cancer care. I learned a lot. Or we can be very creative in our garage or within our space. We can create something which is very unique. Or we can learn a new skill. We can play with our kids. There are a lot of things which we can do when we are bottled up. Or we can stop judging about people. Or we can start thinking, again, when I said resentment, that's a bottled up anger. So we can figure out how do we take out all our bottled up anger so that our immunity can be very in an optimal state. So that's what the sadhaka pitta is, the fire in our brain which helps us to do judgment or make calls. And there's also pranavayu. Prana is nothing but breath. Now that's the connect, that's the mind and body connect. That's what connects, that's what starts the whole system. God gives us number of breaths, not number of years. Now when we slow down pranavayu through pranayama, that is how we control our breath, and that's how we control how long we're going to live and how healthy are we going to live. Now, so pranavayu also, as a number, you might have heard a lot of times that I have anxiety. Let's say people saying, "Oh, I have anxiety." When you look at the person who is feeling anxious, the number of breaths per second will be high. There'll be heavy breathing. So that's where the pranayama plays a very important role. Again, coming back to our topic of stress, we need to focus on Pranavayu, that's nothing but breath, and also the fire in our brain. These two elements we got to keep under control. Now, let's talk about now what are the various ways. Now we talked about stress. We said how stress affects our immune system through limbic system and hypothalamus. We also talked about when we are under chronic stress, how it can impact pituitary glands and our endocrine system. Now, having heard the fundamentals or the definition of stress, now let me talk about how do we help to manage it. How do we manage our stress? Before I get into managing stress, I saw a very interesting, study done in one of the US universities where they came up with stress scores. Let me look at it. For instance, each of the events in our life have certain scores. Let me see. It looks like even festive season, there is a stress score of 12. Change in eating habits, just stress score of 15. Let's say if you have a mortgage in India, it's called EMI. There is a stress score of 17. Like that, each and every event, changing in residence, stress score of 20. Changing in school, change of boss, trouble with boss, changing in living conditions. Every aspect of our life come up with a stress score. It looks like within a year, if we accumulate around 300 points of stress score and not managing the stress properly, the chances of 49%, based on this study, 49%, the chances of we having an illness are very high. And imagine that stress score in the current situation, when there is virus outside, if we are stressed, the chances of our immunity getting suppressed are very high. So we also talked about stress scores and how do we manage stress scores. And it looks like 51% of the people who have accumulated 300 plus points of stress score haven't reported any illness. That's because they figured out how do we manage stress in a very systematic way. I mean, some of those things are what I'm going to bring to the table today. Since I'm an Ayurvedic doctor, and I also I'm living in United States for the last 25 plus years, I also got exposed to a lot of Western herbs. So let's talk about herbology perspective, both Ayurveda as well as Western herbology. What are some of the tools which we have, or the herbs which we have, which we can take where we can manage stress? Ashwagandha, Shankapushpi, Jatamansi, Skullcap. You can talk to your Ayurvedic doctor to really figure out what kind of a dosage you can take. But again, these are some of the 4 herbs which are coming to my memory, which would really help us because these are neurotonics, nervine tonics, as well as nervine sedatives. So now let's talk about one of my favorite subjects, which I also practice a lot, right? As we are speaking, and a diffuser is going on behind my laptop. And I have frankincense essential oil going on in this diffuser. Frankincense is one of the oldest essential oils. And let me tell the importance of aromatherapy in our life. I mean, if you go to our temples, churches, everywhere, you always see some aroma going. There is a reason behind these aromas. For example, in our temples, we have dhoop and we have lots of these. These are herbs, but there's a reason why our saints started these traditions and rituals of dhoop. So, number one, it's one of our most powerful senses, that is sense of smell. I walked into a room, I feel some foul smell. Oh, maybe I see some, I felt there is a rotten, let's say, potatoes. Or if I saw some smell which I felt, oh, it's maybe carbon monoxide. So sense of smell is there to protect us. Now, how can we use it in the current situation? Now, I'll also give you an example. Let's take a couple of things which are really useful in the current situation. We all inside our rooms, in front of our laptops, pretty much I would say maybe with this situation, instead of 8 hours, we're all working 12 hours a day. Now, again, anxiety and stress. How do you define anxiety? As I said, from an Ayurvedic perspective, pranavayu. Now, when you go into the concept of whole chakras, when a person is anxious, Mooladhara, the chakra which grounds us, the energy in that chakra will be weak. Now, how do we get some energy to the chakra? There are a lot of things which we can do. One of the things which we can do is aromatherapy. Now, which essential oil will help us to ground us? Vetiver. Olden days, we used to have, before air conditioners, we used to have this whole vetiver, this, I don't know what we call khaskhas. I don't know what the right pronunciation, but it's vetiver. It's a root which goes deep into the ground. And the nature of that root is going deep into the ground. That means it's grounding us. If we use that essential oil, it gets transformed to us. We'll also get grounded. An opposite of grounding is anxiety. So it'll also help us to increase the energy in that Mooladhara chakra. Now, so how is it helping us to ground us? Again, the nature of that root is grounding. It goes deep. How is essential oil made? Essential oils are made by distillation. So we take tons of this root, passes through steam distillation, and there are various ways in which we distill and we extract that essence. So maybe 100 kilos might get you 5 to 10 ml. That means the essence of that root is being transformed into a small bottle. And when you're using that bottle, that essential oil from that bottle, automatically it helps us to ground. So that's one way of using aromatherapy. You can use diffuser, you can use massage, you can use in your bathtub. I use for my little one all the time. I put few drops in a milk and put into the water into the tub and I let her sit. It helps us to ground. Similarly, the other essential oils are frankincense and let me see. We can use frankincense, we can use bergamot, we can use clary sage, we can use jasmine, neroli, rose, sandalwood, and yang. So these are some of the essential oils which will help us not only to reduce the stress, it will also reduce our anxiety. So aromatherapy is a very, very good tool which we have. Again, our ancients are using this. When you go into, as I said, when you walk into temples, and the other great thing is, some of them, they have antiviral properties. I'm not saying stop using other antiviral, medicines and everything. This can be a great supportive care. For instance, I have these roll-ons. This is a Manuka roll-on. I have a roll-on with a lavender roll-on. The way I do is, whenever I'm going out, in addition to the mask and everything, I have these roll-ons. I rub them on my wrist. I do this. It's also helping me. Again, immediately I'm seeing the smell of lavender. It starts doing its magic. So this is how we can use these essential oils and aromatherapy. Again, we can use it in bath. We can use it in a spray. It's very simple. Take some distilled water. Take a little bit of alcohol. Put few drops of essential oil. And boom, you have a spray ready. And it gives you a very, very, a nice feeling inside your house. Again, you can use it in massage. I do it every day, morning, half an hour, 45 minutes before my bath. I make sure that I massage with either sesame oil or I use hazelnut, one of these carrier oils, and 3% dilution, and that is how you can use aromatherapy. So there are a lot of antiviral properties in essential oils. Essential oils have helps us to reduce the stress and anxiety. So I covered herbs, I covered aromatherapy. Let me now get into pranayama. Again, there are a lot of gurus out there who are experts in pranayama. I'm an amateur in this, but I would suggest that, again, as I said, one of the subdoshas which get vitiated or which gets out of balance is prana vayu. So we have to control our breath. We can do a meditation. We can just close our eyes, follow our breath. The moment you start following our breath, it starts slowing down. Then again, you can use Soham technique to slow down your breath. Or when it comes to pranayama, we can do alternate nostril breathing and anulom and vilom. Again, I normally use 10-20-10 rule, which for whatever the pranayama which I do. 10, I breathe in from the nostrils. I hold it for 20 count. I breathe out from the right nostril or the left nostril, whichever is I'm opposite to that I'm breathing in. Then I pause for 10 and I repeat it. Repeat that for few times in a day. So this is one of the ways to control our breath, which in turn controlling pranavayu, which in turn controlling number of breaths per second per minute which we are doing, and which in turn slows down our system. The moment our system is slowed down, then we have a better control over us. Life is about control, right? When we feel control, we feel very happy. And when we feel very happy, our health in general will be very, very good. So again, when we are in lockdown, we feel that we lost control. So this is one way of getting back our control over us. Now, then I talked about Ayurvedic herbs. I talked about aromatherapy. I talked about pranayama. One of the things which I also do is mental imagery and visualization. So I give you one example of how we can, based on some of the books which I'm reading, I can give you one way to do this whole mental imagery and visualization to control our stress. Now, again, one of the causes of our stress can be resentment. What is the difference between resentment and anger? And how do we really control this? And how do we use mental imagery and visualization when in these times? The difference is anger is a one-time thing. You get anger, it's a burst for a few seconds, you're done, you'll move on. Resentment is bottled up anger. We are not able to express it. And you might have events in your life. It can be your personal events, it can be your professional events. There can be many events where you did not get an opportunity to really express it and it kept bottling. Now, those bottled up anger, when you're sitting inside four walls, especially in the current pandemic situation, you will start replaying them. Every time when you start replaying them, you are repeating the stress. You're putting your body to the stress rather than one time. Every time you're putting your body through the stress, which in turn, consciously or unconsciously, you are bringing down your immune system. And that's where you'll also become vulnerable to a lot of our diseases. A lot of the diseases which are out there. Now, I was also looking at stress and cancer. They're not directly related, but if your immune system is weak, the chances of we getting chronic ailments are very, very high. So it's very, very important that This is the time where we got to take out our bottled up emotions, which are in the form of resentment. So let me give you few tips and how do we do it. People say, oh, forgive them. Forgiving is not an easy thing because it keeps coming back. So what you can do is, you sit on a comfortable, sit or slant or sleep or whatever it is, be in a comfortable position, the most comfortable position which you can be. Relax. When I say relax, one way to relax is feel that your face and scalp are stressed out. How can you do it? You can actually hold your fist very tight. When you hold your fist tight, you feel the tension. Now slowly visualize that the tension is being shifted into your face and scalp. Breathe in. Do a deep breathing all the way from abdomen. Deep breathing. So do that. Then hold your breath. Then say word relax in your brain. When you say relax, that's when you feel your face and scalp are really getting relaxed. Continue that process all the way from head to toe. Then visualize yourself in a most beautiful place. It can be, foothills of Himalayas or one of those beautiful places we have based on whatever you want. It can be an imaginary place. It can be a real place which you saw before or which you saw on the internet or in a movie. Visualize yourself there. Once you visualize there, then think about the reasons why you had that resentment in your system, the bottled up emotion. Think about the person. Now, as I said, forgiving is not easy. But what you can start practicing is, there might be a belief in your system which is triggering that emotion, which is triggering that resentment. Go back to the belief. Again, there are various ways in which we can change that belief, because beliefs create emotions, and there are 3 types of beliefs which we have, which we can really which will be either useful for us or healthy or unhealthy. There are 3 types of beliefs. Again, the reason I talked about belief is belief triggers an emotion. Emotion which in turn triggers resentment, which in turn replays the whole stressful event which you had long time back, which in turn bringing down our immune system or making us vulnerable. What is belief? Because we felt that that person or the thing or the event, we are not at fault and somebody else is at fault and we are paying the price for it. But even let's assume that somebody else is at fault, but we are paying the price. We are making our immune system weak. So what I suggest is the first step to tackle resentment, after doing that simple meditation, which I call meditation, by doing deep breathing, stressing from head to scalp and repeating the word relax, positioning yourself in a most beautiful imaginary or a real situation, is checking your beliefs. There are 5 questions. CM, Maltzby created these 5 questionnaire. Maltzby, Maltsby, Maltzby. To check your beliefs. This is the time, again, as I said, when we're locked down, this is the time we can fix some of our inherent problems. One of the problems which we can fix now is our belief system. There are 3 kinds of beliefs. There is a unhealthy belief, there is a positive belief, there is a healthy belief. Which one is good healthy belief is good, because sometimes positive thinking or positive belief might not be practical. You might say, oh, people are saying, oh, think positive, but nothing is happening which is positive in my life. Then we got to go and figure out what is a belief which is healthy. But how do you check whether your existing beliefs are healthy or not? There is a simple 5-step question here. If you get 3 yes for this 5-step question here, that means your belief is good. We can continue. If you get less than 3 yes or more than 3 no's, then it's time to replace that belief with a healthy belief. You can write down every time on a piece of paper, this is what my unhealthy belief is, and I'm replacing with this healthy belief. Every time when you think about, oh, for example, what happens if I go out, if I have this virus attack? While we are maintaining social distance, while we are doing all the precautions which are government, which are prime minister, everybody is asking us to do, still something is in our brain which is really bothering us. Now, how do you validate whether that the thing which is bothering is valid or not? Ask 5 questions. Does this belief help me to protect my life and health? Does it help to achieve my short-term and long-term goals? Does it help to resolve my conflicts with myself or somebody else? Does it help me to feel the way I want to feel? Is this belief based on facts? These 5 questions will validate your belief. Because a lot of times, these days I keep hearing, chronic depression. Again, I'm not a medical psychiatrist, but we keep hearing these. But while we're going and taking a medical help, what is it we can do to take control? Start with the belief system. Ask these 5 questions. Validate the belief is wrong, right or wrong. And time to replace that belief with a healthy belief. And that is how we will start fixing the core of the problem of resentment. Again, I took resentment as an example. Is by replacing our negative beliefs with some healthy beliefs, or unhealthy beliefs with some healthy beliefs. Now going back to our meditation. So at that time, you will go and you will see what is a belief which caused this resentment. Replace that with a healthy belief. Now, then start thinking good about the other person. Once you get into this perspective where your health is becoming more important, you will forget about the situation which caused it, who caused it, all the, whole 9 yards. You'll forget all of that. Then you'll start thinking good about the other person. The other person might, whatever the other person feels or want in his or her life, think that, pray God that give them that. The moment you start thinking good about somebody else, automatically the cord which created resentment between you and that person will be cut. The moment you cut that, you won't be repeating that stressful event in the form of resentment. Then there are other things which you can do. You can also think about what is that role you played in that stressful situation which created that resentment. And slowly, once you do that meditation, once you repeat it, slowly open your eyes, then go back to your normal routine. And that is one way of reducing the stress, by taking out. This is the time, it's a cleansing time, right? Our earth is getting purified, the planet is getting purified, we have less vehicles, we have less pollution. But there's also pollution here in our brain. This is the time we got to take that out. This is the time we need to detoxify our minds along with our body. Strengthening body is one thing. If you don't have a strong mind, a healthy belief system, no matter where you are, what you take, the chances of getting vulnerable are very high. Now let me just summarize it. Stress, anxiety are one of the couple of key things which we need to address in the current pandemic situation. It is really important that we pay attention to these two things while we are locked up within our four walls. It's very important that we address it, we manage it. Based on a lot of research, it's proved beyond a point that an accumulated stress over 300 points is not good for us. It is very important that we control it. How do we control stress as well as anxiety? I gave 4 or 5 different ways. One is by taking herbs, which includes ashwagandha, I said shankapushpi, skullcap, jatamamsi. These are some of the great herbs which are out there. And the second thing which I suggested is aromatherapy. The sense of smell is really works powerfully. It helps us to calm us down because of how instantly it gets to our brain. So it's very important to use some kind of an aromatherapy. Again, there are lots of great potential properties of aromatherapy. It has antiviral properties. Again, nothing is proved in a clinical setting. It's not certified by FDA, but there are lots of studies which are done on aromatherapy. You guys can look at it, which will help us to there are, again, as I said, there are a lot of essential oils. It can be, let me just go back to my notes: bergamot, clary sage, elemi, jasmine, neroli, rose, sandalwood, yang yang, frankincense, melissa. These are some of the very good essential oils which are out there, which would really help us. Either we can use it in the form of a bath by putting few drops of essential oil in an oil. It can be olive oil, it can be sesame oil, it can be hazelnut oil. Few drops, again 3% dilution. Put it in your bath, massage, or you can inhale it, or you can put it in a diffuser the way I'm using it. You can even create sprays, and you can spray in your house. If there is a chronic stress, there are a couple of very good formulations which are out there. They was called aroma blends. One is Roman chamomile, clary sage, mandarin petitgrain, and spikenard. 1 drop with 1 ml milliliter, or 1 I would say, again, just stick with the 3% dilution. But these 4 oils for chronic stress: Roman chamomile, clary sage, mandarin petitgrain, spikenard, with hazelnut oil as a base oil. Create your own stress blend. Again, I learned a lot of this from great gurus on aromatherapy like David Crow from Floracopia, and also we have Dr. Kurt here, Pacific Aromatherapy School. I've been reading a lot of their books, and that's how I learned about my aromatherapy knowledge, which I gained from these two. And there's a great website, this Shift Network. There also there are a lot of good courses which are out there. Again, you can create this aromatherapy blend for chronic stress. So I talked about Ayurvedic herbs, Eastern herbs, Western herbs. I talked about aromatherapy. I talked about pranayama, how we can control our breath using alternate nostril breathing, as well as meditating on our breath using Soham techniques. And there are a lot of other techniques and other forms of pranayama. Again, there are a lot of great gurus out there. We can look at their YouTube videos and really figure out how do we learn and become. Again, there are a lot of yoga asanas which are also out there. Since I'm not an expert, or I don't know much about yoga, few asanas I know, but there are a lot of yoga asanas. One of them which I heard is Surya Namaskara, which we can definitely do it. And finally, mental imagery and visualization. Visualizing that our stress is going away, and also whenever we have any resentment, taking that resentment out by thinking good about the other person and following that simple mental imagery a meditation technique which I gave you by stressing your head to toe and relaxing it, and also by using breathing as well as combination of breathing and visualization. I think with that, I would like to end my session. Again, hope this session helped you guys to understand the importance of managing stress, controlling our anxiety in this pandemic situation, and how we can use these 4 techniques or tools: Ayurvedic herbs, aromatherapy, pranayama, mental imagery, and visualization to really control our stress and get control over our health, over our body and mind. Let our mind control our body, and let our spirit control both mind and body. And this is how we can really manage a lot of things, and this is how we can stay on top of it in the current situation. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at any point. You can reach out through Nirok Street, or you can reach out to me. I'm out there on Facebook as well as LinkedIn, and I do a lot of tweets. Namaskar, and have a good night and good day wherever you are.